One of the smartest things you can do is create a personal study routine. This will not only help you study smarter, it will also help you study faster. At the end of the video, you know how to use a study routine and even create your own personal study routine. So you have your study book and you have time. How do you get started? Well, before it was probably something like, okay, how do I go through this book? What do I need to do next? What should I be doing? Now you don't, because you have a routine. You simply go down the list of tasks you have to do and you transform your book into knowledge that you can use. In this video, you learn one very important routine in studying. That is transforming your book into notes. Notes that you can use, notes that you can memorize, notes that you can use for exercises, assignments. We go from a book to notes that can be used. Let's do that in this simple routine. I would like to give you a simple 4-step outline for studying and creating a simple routine. The first part that we have to do is we have to understand what is the purpose of going through this book. Second part is you just read. You go through your book, you read, you highlight important information. Third part, you create notes. You create notes in a mind map, for example. But you go from reading and highlighting to notes in step 3. And in step 4, you understand what you just read. You make sure that you know what the notes mean and you can clarify or add more information when things are not clear. Let's dive into these 4 steps right now. As you can see, doing it like this is simplifying studying. You don't create notes when you're reading. You don't try to understand when you're reading. You break all things up in smaller pieces that you can do easily. In step 1, we identify why we're going through this book. And this is very important because you might be reading it for just getting some information or new insights. You might be doing it for giving a presentation or preparing for an exam. You need to know why you're going through a book. This will help you to identify the important information when you're reading. And it will help you to clear your mind and make sure that you're going through this book the right way. The second step is reading. You just read your book and you highlight important concepts and details. Now read at your own pace. Normally you can start at the beginning and go your way through the chapter and through the book. That is, if you're familiar with this topic already a little bit. Most people are already familiar with the topics they are going to study because they have information from previous modules, previous courses or previous books. When the text is a little bit more complicated or just new, you can do this instead. Start by going through the summary at the end of the chapter and the introduction at the beginning of the chapter. And then just read through the headlines of the different sections in the book. And when you do that, you will know a lot better what is discussed in the book. And based on the previous step, you already know which sections you might be needing to read this time. So you can leave out the sections that you don't need to read. Doing this, you will go from a helicopter view with the broad concepts to more detailed when you're just reading the book. And this will help you to go through even very complicated texts. In step 3, we're going through the book again, but this time we create notes. And the easy thing to do is then just go through your book and add the highlighted stuff, the details, concepts, etc., all the important information that you found while reading, to your notes. I usually create a mind map for this because this way I have everything in one place, in one document, and I see it in one look on my screen. But you can use your own technique, of course. If you want to learn more about mind mapping, I created a couple of videos that I will link in the description so you can have a look at them. How to create a mind map, for example. The benefit of this is that you have now gone from book with details to notes only with the details and the information that you need, without all the extra stuff that you already also have in your book. In step 4, we go from notes to understanding what is said in these notes. You do this by going through the notes, for example your mind map, and you try to understand what is being said in the mind map. And are there words that are not clear enough? Make sure that you go into your book again and clarify. It would be best if you can use your own normal language to explain what is being said in that mind map or in your book. Because when you know how to use your own words, you probably understand what you're studying and what you've been writing in your notes. Also, look at your mind map and make sure that you can perhaps group relevant information, because maybe in your mind map at a number of places they are talking about the same concept or the same details. Group that and make sure you understand why that is the case. Less notes are better than a lot. And by rearranging and rewriting the words, you create a much better overview of your mind map and you create a good understanding. A good understanding that is that good that you probably know a lot already after just reading, note-taking and understanding in step 4. So this is the simple 4-step routine that you can use for studying. Wait, I have to say something again because I think it's very important to know this for you. I said in step 4 that you have to go through the book or your notes and you have to use your own words to describe what you're studying. This is very, very important. It's crucial because if you can use your own words, you probably know what's being said in the book and in your notes. This is so important that there's even a technique called the Feynman technique, the Feynman method. Richard Feynman was a physicist and he created notes just like this. He took a very difficult concept and he wrote it like a normal human being would. So he wrote a lot about quantum mechanics, but he did that in a very simple way that you and I can understand, even if you're not studying physics. Now, how can you use this in your study process? Take a good look at how you're studying right now. Do you go from reading in your book to note-taking, to reading, to note-taking, to reading, to clarifying, to looking some things up on the internet? Can you perhaps simplify this process? Just read, take notes, add something and move on. The key in this is to simplify what you're doing. You don't need 20 steps if you can do it in 4 steps. So make sure that you identify what the most important steps are when you are studying, create a routine for that, and use that routine. Now here's something also very important. You should be flexible in your approach. What do I mean with this? Well, the moment you have your routine, you use it. But when you see that some things are not that easy to do or you need to go back and forward again, adjust. Adjust your routine, change your approach and update the way you do things. And by doing that, you can again simplify. You may be using different routines for different books. And that's not a problem. It's very good if you see what is working in one book and what is working in another book. Do this. Follow your routine and get a clear result. For example, you may be reading in the morning, studying in the afternoon, so taking notes, for example, and trying to memorize. And then in the evening, you do a little bit more memorizing and do some assignments. If that's working for you, that's fine. Just make sure that you create clear goals for each step. Because we're all busy. And it can be that you have 10 or 20 minutes to study. Well, if you're studying for 10 minutes and you can do this one task of reading, for example, and highlighting some things, then you can walk away from it and you can simply do something else. And when you return, you go from taking your book up again, taking the notes from the book and creating a mind map. So you're not stuck in, oh, I was on page this and I was doing that, but how do I continue? No, you just take your notes, create a mind map, and if that's done, it's done. Take 10-15 minutes for doing that. And then in the afternoon, you go, okay, I have my notes in my mind map. Now I can memorize. And in the evening, I can do some assignments. Be flexible, but be sure you keep it simple. If you have any questions about creating your own personal study routine, let me know. I'm here to help you and I'm more than happy to help you. Make sure that you look in the description for additional information, for links to the, for example, mind mapping video that I created, and for other links inside the newsletter, etc. But also, if you can, press that like button so YouTube knows that you enjoyed what you've learned. And as always, you learn some new things. Well, now that you know, use this to grow. Have a nice day. Bye bye.